The whole message behind this project that's going to the moon is actually like saving the water. And so since all of the toxins of fashion end up in the water, um, that's my whole contribution to that. So I think it's going to take a little bit of everything, storytelling, putting it into our mainstream art culture, getting it into the news. How do we make this a cultural experience? How do we make this mainstream so that you actually want to have safe fabrics on your skin every day, you know? For my brand myself, I take my paintings and I have them put into fabrics. When you wear my brand Holding Court, you're wearing a piece of art. Yeah, art is super, super, super informed here.
Welcome to Sustainability Transformations podcast, where we explore bold ideas to drive positive change for people, the community, and business. Today's guest is Courtney Barriger, award-winning artist, sustainable fashion expert, author of ReFashion Workshop, The Planet Healing Mindset. And the key goal of our discussion today is how fashion became toxic and how we can detox our mindsets, our bodies, and the fashion industry itself. Courtney, thanks for joining. Let's start with this. What was the moment you realized fashion wasn't just about beauty or expression, but about health, chemicals, and accountability?
Wow, yeah. So many years ago now, this is actually a funny story. When I was living in Los Angeles, I won a reality TV show. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was called America's It Girl. And the prize for the show was that I was going to be given my own clothing line. And at the time, I was more of a writer, I was more of a painter. And so I'm like, clothes. Okay, well, I mean, I love fashion, but now I got to come up with a concept for a clothing line. What the heck is this? So the first thing that I did was, this is kind of what I do with all of my art, is discover what can I do personally to make it better for people or better for the environment, or just something that's going to improve, humanity more than just creating a new product. And wow. Okay, this was 10 years ago. So imagine, at the time, there was barely anything out there on sustainability in fashion, but what was there was eye-opening. I learned all about how 25% of the world's pesticides are used on cotton, and that our skin absorbs 30% to 60% of what we put on it. You know, being health conscious, being environmentally conscious, mainly from the food industry, that's kind of where I got involved. All of a sudden, I saw that there's a serious, serious problem with what we wear that nobody was talking about. And thank God, 10 years later, people are starting to talk about it. But unfortunately, it's actually gotten worse more than it has gotten better because of, well, TikTok and Instagram and the whole fast fashion hauls, and it being fast fashion being more available than ever before. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And it's turned into a couple different things. So I have my clothing line, and then I wanted to approach it from a scholarly point of view. That's why I just wrote this book, ReFashion Workshop, which it details, I mean, I've talked to scientists, I've talked to activists, I've talked to people that are right on the edge of discovery, the lab tech at Cornell, to find out exactly what's going on so that we can see it, but then hopefully we can shift our mindsets into becoming better consumers to stop it at the very first inclination of wanting to buy something.
What are the most harmful toxins that are commonly found in the fast fashion today?
Yeah, so well, I mentioned the pesticides, of course, for cotton, but it goes so much deeper. I mean, there's actually formaldehyde in your clothes, and they even put it in your underwear. So imagine that you're putting this chemical that is known to cause cancer against your most intimate parts. Even polyester has PFAS, which everyone knows. Sorry, not PFAS, BPAs, which everyone associates with plastic bottles. When you drink something, a plastic bottle of water, say, oh, don't do it, don't leave it in the sun. It's leaching these forever chemicals. Well, your clothes have it too. Okay. And that one's a hormone disruptor. You have phthalates. These are what makes fabrics pliable. It's in a lot of like fake leathers. That one's almost also a endocrine disruptor. You have leather. Leather has heavy, heavy, heavy metals. You've got chromium, lead, mercury, cadmium. You have azo dyes, what goes into your, yeah, the azo dyes I'm talking about, mostly reds and oranges and greens. These synthetic chemicals also are absorbed through the skin too. So it's in every layer. It's in the fabric, it's in the treatment of what goes on after, it's in the mordants that help you color it. And I mean, there's even lead in there. So it's in practically everything. And the thing is, you know, when we test like in Europe or in the States, when you test food for levels of chemicals, they do. That's one of the main jobs of the government there. There's what's considered like a okay level that can be found in food. Like sometimes they say, okay, wow, well, we found a little bit of lead in this water, but it's not going to hurt anyone because there's a little bit of everything everywhere, right? What we found with clothing is that it can be 7 to 30 times what is considered safe. And it's on your body. It's what you're sleeping in. It's what you're wrapping your babies in. And, you know, they've even tested the water outside of, say, like, because some of the very, very worst chemically treated clothes are what go on some of the most essential workers that we have. Firefighters, our military, for example, kids' uniforms for schools. If it has that starchy, like hard feeling, flame retardant, anything like that, generally means that there's a harmful chemical on it. I mean, they've even tested the water outside of military bases and found that it's like, again, 7 to 60 times below the safe level of what should be in that water. And it's coming out of the laundry. So yeah, it's a big deal. And some of the things that it can do to our bodies, like, so this is the important part. Okay, so now I'm wearing this clothes. Like I'm wearing this new jacket that I got and I love it. It's so cute. What is it doing to me? Right? Like, what's the worst case scenario? Right? So like best case scenario is like you get a new pair of jeans, right? And you get that itchy feeling. I'm sure a lot of people have had this feeling before where they're like, oh, why are my legs like breaking out in a rash? Like, this is weird. And then you wash the jeans a couple times and it happens until kind of maybe it starts to fade out a little bit. But yeah, that's a chemical reaction that your skin is having. If you are healthy and generally, you know, going through life, you're probably going to be okay, but it's about accumulation. So if you have an autoimmune disease or you already have the genetic predisposition to have cancer, you're more likely that with accumulation and exposure over time, this actually could harm you. And it could be the catalyst that pushes your health over the edge. And that's just with wearing it on a personal level, any human being walking through this world. But if you're living in Indonesia or China or Malaysia, down the river from one of these factories that's producing the clothes, now you're completely in harm's way. You're completely exposed to the highest levels. I mean, it's one of the reasons why a lot of clothes aren't really made in Europe and in the States anymore, because we have regulations that that part of the world doesn't. If it was happening in our backyard, it wouldn't happen. But because we have the global south, and that's where most of the garments of the world are made, that's where a lot of the accumulation in the environment is happening. But I think I think it's important that people know that it starts there, but it doesn't end there. It ends up in your washing machine. It ends up in your bloodstream. So yeah, it's a big problem.
That's a huge concern. Why do you think humanity or governments in taking a different course of action?
Well, a couple of reasons. In one case, it's actually not like some conspiracy or some evil thing. I don't think that most of these companies knew how harmful it was when they started. But because the fashion industry is so globalized and there's no real traceability from the beginning to the end of your garment, it's just what people have gotten away with. Obviously, it's cheaper to make something with polyester. It's a byproduct of the fossil fuel industry. So we're talking about bottom lines. It's cheaper to use bad fabrics. It's cheaper to use synthetic dyes. It's more reliable, you know, like you're going to get the same color, you're going to get it every single time. You're not going to get that with natural dyes. Same things with using pesticides. That's why they're so popular because, okay, your crop failure, you have less of a chance to have crop failure. So it just makes things cheaper. But why they've gotten away with it is just the complete lack of traceability. You could even ask, like, for example, like this is something that a lot of people don't know. Patagonia, right? This is a company that's absolutely famous for its ethics, for its quality. They even take back old garments and will recycle it for you. But even Patagonia, because of a lack of transparency in the hugeness of the fashion industry, didn't know that one of their subcontractors had slaves working for them. Patagonia had slaves at one point and didn't know it. I've even had the experience where, and this is just, the ethical part, but I hired, I wanted to make a t-shirt line in Los Angeles and I brought the company like, okay, it's amazing. You've got a good price. You're making it in LA. Here's the warehouse. They're showing me everything. Here's the cutting machine. Here's the staff. Great. I go by one day without telling anyone that I'm coming. And I'm like, hey, so where are my shirts? And they're like, oh, well, we didn't know you were coming here. But I'm like, well, where are they? I thought you were making them here. I found out they were actually making them in Tijuana. So they subcontracted my contract that I was trying to do something ethical, and I have no idea. Like the lack of accountability is, it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
What can the consumers do, or why is it still going on?
I would say definitely consumer awareness. It's getting a lot better. I think people are like, thankfully, TikTok is doing something good where it's showing all of the fashion washing up on the beaches in Ghana, like that's gone viral. But there's so much more. If no one knows that something's harming you, it's like, how are you going to even start to ask the right questions? You know what I mean? There's barely even regulation on like putting on a label, oh, it's 7% Tencel, it's 8% spandex. It should go so much deeper than that. But yeah, consumers just don't even know what to ask. And if they did, and if they really wanted it, I think that would move the point for brands to finally start regulating it for sure. For sure, for sure. And I would, if you have a favorite brand that you still really like, okay, I love this brand. I love the way that they fit, but I want to know everything. The only thing you can do is actually ask for it. Email them, go to their Instagram page, ask them, hey, can I see the factory that it's made in? Hey, do you know what kind of dyes are in the fabric? It's going to take a conversation with the brands themselves publicly, kind of like how the world is kind of doing politics from Instagram as well. I mean, it's going to take that kind of conversation and that kind of demand. You're more likely to get it right now from the brands than the governments. The governments are completely overwhelmed with how to trace it themselves because, like I said, literally no one, unless you are growing it. Christy Dawn, they actually grow their own cotton in India, make their dyes there, and then the whole thing is it's like, yeah, farm to closet. It's really really cool. But that's the only brand that I can think of that actually has that level of traceability. Yeah, it's a tricky time, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, third party to help quick verification. Say, I go to the shop, to my favorite shop to buy clothing. I put the phone out. There's an app which quickly gives me within 10 to 30 seconds rather than the existing of having to learn. And the reason I ask that because, as a sustainability advisor, I always say consumers want speed and ease and that part. And yeah, perhaps what I'm suggesting here is we need a lot more players to come in to force the companies. And I genuinely believe that change can be made because it baffles me personally where the same, for example, not just picking on just one or two generations, but the millennials and Gen Zs who care so much about sustainability in companies and society in general are the same ones who are buying this fast fashion as an example, which both just can't be right. So clearly there has to be some mechanism. And I think we've covered the government aspect. We've covered the companies. They can make a judgment. I think we need something like that. What are your thoughts?
I think that's absolutely genius. There are a couple of databases that exist already that can help guide you, like goodonyou.com. Good on You, they have a qualification program that you have to hit all the marks on to get into their database, which is pretty cool. I think you even have to send them some of your samples so that they can review it. It's definitely not it's not as advanced as having a QR code on the tag, but that would definitely be the fastest, coolest way in the future for people to see exactly what it's made out of. If you get something that has like the Ecotex label on it, generally means that they've tested for the most harmful chemicals. Now, of course, the problem with that is you can still buy an Ecotex fabric and have it treated after, so you don't know. Like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but it's at least you're starting somewhere. Globally organic certified, that's on clothing too. So you can, certain brands do put it on their labels, but yeah, that would be an amazing app. Think about that. Oh yeah, what if it was just like the barcode? You just scan the barcode and like the info's in the barcode.
If you're finding this conversation eye-opening, please subscribe to the channel and share this episode with someone who you think will benefit from this discussion. And let's spread the awareness, one conversation at a time. Moving on with our conversation, how does your artistic background influence how you communicate these issues that we are talking about?
Yeah, so I've been an artist my whole life, a fine artist, some acting, some modeling, and things like that. And overall, I feel very connected to storytelling. So I've always seen my part in the sustainable fashion movement as something that maybe gets closer to the heart of things. I love to chew on information, but also I think that the world needs a mindset shift. And when I wrote ReFashion Workshop, a lot of that has all sorts of practices and ways that get you basically to kind almost like joining the cult of loving the earth, so that everything that you buy comes from that place of what would the earth do better, like how would the earth benefit more by what I consume. So how that's gone into my artistry is I wrote a kids book that I did all the illustrations for. And it's this really, really cool hero's journey. Yeah, the cover of it is actually going to the moon in December on a rocket. And there's just some really fun stuff happening, like with all the art. And the whole message behind this project that's going to the moon is actually like saving the water. And so since all of the toxins of fashion end up in the water, um, that's my whole contribution to that. So I think it's going to take a little bit of everything: storytelling, putting it into our mainstream art culture, getting it into the news. How do we make this a cultural experience? How do we make this mainstream so that you actually want to have safe fabrics on your skin every day? For my brand myself, I take my paintings and I have them put into fabrics. When you wear my brand Holding Court, you're wearing a piece of art. Yeah, art is super, super, super informed here. And also another way that I get involved is here in Tulum. I do workshops where we bring in our old like clothes that just need to have a second life. And we do like fun dyeing or stitching or make it into like a cool tied up t-shirt. It's just using creativity in real time to build community and also bring awareness at the same time.
I agree with storytelling is a lesson within the sustainability space on one part of the climate change where there is a lot of lessons about some of these. And to be fair, this conversation we are having, perhaps bringing the stories, bringing the conversation to make it interesting, explore different aspects. So apart from the mindsets and the communication that we've just discussed, what other everyday tips do you give to people for detoxing their wardrobe and their body?
Yeah, so you can detox your wardrobe fairly quickly if you want to, or incrementally, because I also don't believe in waste. So it's actually incredibly important that your undergarments are not synthetic and that they are organic materials, especially just make it buy organic cotton or Tencel. Health-wise, you have the majority of your lymphatic channels are under your armpits and downstairs, literally two of the places that you sweat the most and that pull in. Like that's why when I said your skin absorbs 30 to 60% of what you put on it, because in those sensitive areas, that's where you absorb the most. So if you're going to change out one thing in your wardrobe, that would be the very, very first thing. Second thing would be your workout clothes because you're sweating in it. So your pores are opening up. And so, the skin barrier is now exposed and you're taking in way more than you usually are. So make sure that your workout clothes are not polyester either. Or, I mean, you can't even check on tags right now to see if it's made out of like what the dyes are, unfortunately it won't tell you. So you just got to go and find the brands that are really, really, really clean. So those are two very quick tips that you can do. Over time, if you can shop secondhand, that's already going to get you. If you shop before the 90s, when everything became made out of plastic, you're going to already be in a better place. But if you need to get something new, just do your due diligence. Go to goodonyou.com and you'll have some guidance there. But as far as like detoxing your body, there's a couple of very basic things that you can do. And they're going to sound so basic that you're going to be like, I can't believe you're telling me this. But first of all, stay hydrated. Stay super, super hydrated because your lymphatic system that I just said, that's absorbing all the chemicals, that's what's responsible for your immunity. And it's also the superhighway for your hormones. These are two things that are highly affected by these chemicals, right? Because we said hormone disruptors and we said carcinogens. So if you keep your lymphatic system healthy, so you want to keep it super, super hydrated, you want to drink water that has salt, electrolytes in it, ideally like a gray salt because it has way more magnesium, which is going to chelate and grab those toxins because your body knows what a foreign invader is. You just have to make sure that it is not jammed up, that it's like lubricated and loose. Another thing you can do for your hydration is eat probiotics and mushrooms. Mushrooms are shown to break down microplastics. So when we're talking about like all the microplastics that come off of your clothes when you wash them, that's the majority. That's where most of it, honestly, like if you ever feel like there's like a dust or something like that, a lot of the times that's actually from off vented dryer. It's your dryer is throwing all the microplastics into the air and then you're breathing it in. So to break all that stuff down, we're talking about eating a lot of chilies. We're talking about eating those mushrooms and those probiotics because it helps the mucilin lining in your stomach to break that down even further. So yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff that you can do. Another really simple thing that you can do is, right, so your skin, this is what we're talking about is things getting in through your skin. Skin is a two-way barrier, so it lets things out and lets things in. One easy way to detox is to sweat every day. Sweat it out. Your body has this built-in system that says, okay, I've got an accumulation of toxins. The fastest way you're going to get it out is by sweating. So cardio or even like, going to a steam room or taking a really, 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 really hot shower that actually makes you sweat and doing that once a day. That's going to keep you so healthy. You're going to have the healthiest, glowiest skin ever. And then protecting it from the top after you take that shower, get something like a coconut oil or a castor oil because these have molecules that are actually kind of bigger than like a sesame oil or like some of the other oils that are out there. And it's actually going to create a barrier so that things can't get into your skin. So you want to do this after like your morning shower, put on the oil, wait, 5 minutes, and then put your clothes on. And you're way less likely to take things in through your skin. So
As you're talking about the shower, yeah, I get a lot of ideas in the showers. I probably spend more time in there, but perhaps now I've got an excuse
yeah,
as to why I spend more time.
that's what I said. These are practical. These are easy. These are, my detox protocol, it goes way, way further. But these are just things that you can do every day that are going to make you feel amazing and help you from getting that accumulation that becomes a problem later on, Like it only becomes a problem if your body is now too full. You know what I mean? Like it can't eliminate. Like in my protocol, I go into like your gut health and intestinal health. Because if you're like you're trying to make sure that your kidneys and your liver are also firing very well too. But you can't even work on those if you have a full colon. So like there's steps that you take to have like a full detox on a regular basis. But yeah, that's something that I go into in my detox protocol.
As a final or a few of the final discussion topics, how do you balance hope but also with urgency with some of the issues that you are tackling?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of hope. I find that like I just did my book tour for ReFashion Workshop, the book that I just came out with, and I didn't know how people were going to react. You know, it's scary. You write a book, you think maybe it's going to be shit, maybe no one's going to be interested, you know, or someone's going to be like, "Ugh, okay, the world is ending in another way now. Come on, like what are you doing to me?" On my book tour, I found even in the south of Georgia, right, where the girls are like, it's not the culture of sustainability. It's not the culture of, you know, it's not California. It's not the green culture. I found that everyone that I talked to was genuinely interested, concerned, and wanting to take steps. So it gives me hope that people really actually care. You can't care if you don't know. So that's my job, is to create these conversations, to tell these stories, to bring the information to people, and so that everyone can make their own choice and join in.
What is your final thought for the listeners based on the discussions that we've had so far on the fast fashion detox protocols?
My final thoughts: go out there, get good underwear. I'm just joking. No, but really, don't be so scared about all the information about the toxins. You can actually change everything just by what you buy with your purchasing powers. Even 35% of a change in your wardrobe is going to tip the scales in the direction that we want to go. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being curious. Thanks for being supportive. Enoch, thank you for having me. Without you, are no like this is, this is the platform for the conversation. So I'm super, super grateful for you.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for that. So, if listeners enjoy the conversation we've had and would like to find out more, where can they find more of your work?
Yeah, go to refashionworkshop.com, and on there you'll find all of my books, all of the literature, and there's some links out to the clothing line Holding Court Inc. But that's all in one place there, and I actually have my own forgot to mention this, my own matchmaking. So I have my own list of 200 brands that I fully support. And yeah, there's all freebies, there's a million things on there. You guys are going to love it.
Huge thank you, Courtney, to yourself for your time and sharing these incredible insights. And also, thanks for joining us on this podcast. Please remember, transformation isn't just what we were, it's what we choose to carry it forward. So, thank you so much.